Hi, this is Chris with tutorial number 2 on some tips on how to build the dramatic structure of your film. But before you come up with an idea for what your film is going to be about, consider doing some thorough research about your subject matter in advance, because the research will provide you with a pool of information that you can use when you need to add events and characters to your story. We won't know exactly what the theme, plot, or characters of the film will be yet, but this research exercise will get us closer to discovering it and coming up with the first set of ideas for our film. I'll be doing the Guerrilla Project filmmaking challenge, so if you want to follow along with me in this tutorial, just go to guerrillaproject.org and I'll put the link in the description. Click the join us button and just follow the instructions. And if you haven't seen tutorial number 1, feel free to pause the video and watch it. We're trying to make a film that deals with issues surrounding the plight of gorillas, so we'll want to gather our information from sources that come from experts. One place you can go is Google Scholar, and just type in anything that has to do with gorillas. If you don't know what issues gorillas have to deal with, maybe as a jump off point, just go to Wikipedia, type in gorillas, mountain gorillas, western gorillas, and then you'll see some keywords and it'll give you some clues and some ideas. So for example, in this case, let's go to Google Scholar and just look up an article, for example, this one. And you'll notice that in some cases, when you want to download an article, they'll try to make you pay for it. So what you need to do first is install a plugin called Sci-hub Scholar. You'll find it for Firefox, and you'll also find it for Chrome. And that'll add a little icon here so that when the article comes up, all I do is I click the icon and it'll take me to the Sci-hub database and it'll give me the entire article for free. It's as simple as that. So how do I know that this paper comes from a credible source? There are a few quick checks that you need to do before you begin reading. Ask yourself a few questions about the author. Who is the author? Are they a tenured professor? You can obtain information like this with a quick Google search or a LinkedIn search. Also ask, what are the author's education levels or experience? Is their educational background relevant to the subject they're discussing? Another question you need to ask is where the author published the article. Was the article peer-reviewed? If not, was it published in a journal that has a rigorous editorial process? Certain newspapers and news websites have an extremely lax editorial process, so they would not qualify as a good source, regardless of how interesting the article is to read. If you have no choice but to get information from a blog, find out if the blog has contact information. Is there an about page? Does the content have a link to references so you can verify the information yourself and examine the content of the references? When you ask these questions in advance, you'll see why you wouldn't want to get your information from a Facebook post that your uncle posted on his timeline, or some WordPress blog written by some random blogger, or a YouTube video or a podcast you like. These sorts of sources are fun to consume, but they don't work within the context of what we're trying to achieve. They only would work as a jump off point for keywords you might type into Google Scholar. For the sake of this exercise, it's a good idea to stick with academic papers, peer-reviewed, and published in respected journals. If you want to save some time, you can join the Guerrilla Project Filmmaking Challenge. Just click the Join Us button here, and you'll receive a link to a Dropbox folder with some research papers about gorillas that you could use as a starting point. Either way, go ahead and gather your research, and in the next video, I'll show you a foolproof method for taking notes that you can use to come up with story ideas for your next film. So I'll see you in the next video.